Divis et coelum totum subicit, quia te contemplans statum deficit.
Praise be Jesus Christ, and welcome to Catholic Forum. I'm your guest host, Alan Dunst, and we want to thank you for joining us for today's conversation. And we do hope that our little conversation here in West Michigan will draw you, wherever you are, a little closer to Jesus Christ and His one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. We're going to go and revisit a place we were about a year ago, and we visited a garden, and we're going to kind of go back to the garden, as it were, to talk about how it's grown. When we were there the first time, it was kind of inclement weather, and since then we've seen a lot of growth and get to see some of the beauty of the actual foliage and such. But we want to see what's been happening there, and we're going to talk with one of the primary architects of this garden, sculptor Mic Carlson.
Hi, Alan.
Hi there. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. This is nice.
Well, we're more than happy to have you here.
All right.
So let's talk about the St. Francis Sculpture Garden for prayer and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's located in Grand Rapids, Michigan,
mm-hmm.
and over by It's East Fulton.
East Fulton. Yes.
East Fulton, kind of behind the Marywood. Is it Marywood Center?
Yeah, the Dominican Center out there, the
mm-hmm.
Marywood Dominican Sisters, and just east of Aquinas.
Okay.
East of Plymouth there. We're developing 11 acres of wooded area. We've been working on for about 6 years now.
Right.
Yeah.
And we talked about, kind of how it got started and kind of its inception and what you've gone through just to get to that point last year.
Yeah,
so,
we were outside, and I think it was...
Yeah, so I hope you're more comfortable right now.
We were good. We were just a little chilly.
But so I wanted to kind of talk about, how things are progressing, because my understanding you've built out a little bit there, and I was by there the other day. We were going to show some clips of the garden as we talk.
Yeah.
And so what's been going on since we talked last year?
Yeah, we started this project 6 years ago at the Dominican Center there, and developing the wooded area, and the reason it's taken so long because it's all on donations. So when we Instruments of Hope is the nonprofit group that is raising the money to put this garden in on the property of Marywood, and it's going to be a wonderful thing for not just the community but also for the legacy of Marywood. Mm-hmm. And their property is just beautiful. So we're very thankful to be able to team up with them on St. Dominic, Dominic and Francis, and they were contemporaries. Mm-hmm. There's the story that they actually went to Rome to meet the Pope, and they actually met in Rome. They both had an idea: I have to go meet the Pope and get permission to preach the gospel, out in nature, mm-hmm. which back then it just wasn't. You kind of had to have permission.
Sure.
Or you felt better if you had permission, because...
Well, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, if you know your history, yeah. It's,
yeah.
But, so we're trying to bring... we're telling the story of Francis through my sculptures and the stories that I've written through the winding pathways. Mm-hmm. And we started developing that, like I said, 6 years ago, but just recently we got a big donation in, and we're very thankful for that. And there's going to be 4 new garden sites going in, and 4 new statues, and that's going to be a total of 9. And there's going to be 12 garden sites on the east side, and then we're going to build a big bridge to go over the creek below the property there, because we're building everything over. There's a 100-year floodplain that comes through that area, so we have to build everything above that, and it's all barrier-free, wheelchair accessible.
Right.
And so we're very excited that we're going to be putting these new garden sites in, and we've got donors for 13 statues, and so we need to find donors for 3 more garden sites. And so that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, my understanding is that your overall vision is actually have about 24 statues out there?
Yeah, telling his story. The story started, I was invited to the Basilica of St. Francis in 2004. Actually, I was invited in 2003. I had an exhibition in Assisi, and I did a couple bronze statues of St. Francis, and then the head of the Basilica came and invited me. So I did a 30-day exhibition there, and I was there every day meeting and greeting people from all over the world. And then the caves where Francis lived, and the nature, the peace that you could walk through in silence and following his footsteps. It was a combination of the show at the Basilica, of meeting all these people, looking at the stories that went along with the sculptures that I created for that. It gave me that feeling that I had to share this with people in Grand Rapids. And that's kind of the short version. I know.
Right. But we did talk about it a little bit last year, and a little bit more depth in terms of that. So if people want to kind of look back at that, they can see that on YouTube or on our website, catholicforumlink.org.
Okay.
Shameless plug. But and like I said, I was out there the other day talking with, is it Skip?
Yeah, Skip Harima.
Yeah.
Skip's Landscaping.
He's been helping, my understanding, he's been kind of guiding the...
Yeah, he's been on board since the beginning.
Yeah.
And he's a very talented landscaper, and we're very fortunate to have him. And he's worked with Bill Cox, who was the original designer of Meyer Garden. And Bill's been doing all this stuff pro bono. So him and Bill went out there and kind of scoped the whole thing out together. So it's just great to see these workers out there. And we have another landscaping company, Alternative Lawn Care, also, that's out doing the pathways.
I saw them doing their thing,
Yeah, so it's just nice to see everybody working together in unity, and we're getting ready for this big international peace walk, which is real exciting, because we're really, the dots are starting to connect with other organizations to utilize the garden.
Yeah, and I'm going to want to come back to what Instruments of Hope has been up to, because it's really, you're really using that space already.
Yeah,
and so there's some exciting things about that. So I'm going to want to touch on that. I wanted to mention, like I said, I was talking to Skip, and he was talking about his favorite site, his favorite garden site, and it was the one. It's kind of got this really old tree, but he says you're quiet, you can hear the brook in the back, and that's where I'm going.
Yeah, still looking for a donor for that.
That's what he said.
But that's going to be a beautiful, beautiful site. I'm surprised he could pick a favorite one, because they're all beautiful.
Yeah, but it just reminds him again of the piece that you were talking about and experiencing in Assisi. And you talked about wanting to bring a little bit of Assisi to Grand Rapids, and
and you really, it's hard to believe you're that close to the city, because once you're in there, you can get lost in the stillness.
Yeah, and I think we're going to try to show a graphic so people can get a sense of you've got a kind of a visualization, a schematic as it were.
Yeah.
But it has kind of the parts that are done are kind of filled in and rendered, as he put it.
Yeah,
and then the rest are kind of gray. So it's still very kind of in its infancy, but.
It's a little hidden secret right now, but we're hoping to spread the word. Yeah.
And before we kind of dig more into what Instruments of Hope have been doing, I just want to talk about kind of what you've been doing, because you've had a busy summer or this last couple of months. I mean,
it's been a busy, very busy year. It's been an amazing, incredible 3 years. I mean, 10 years, 15 years, but the last few years have really been busy with these big sculptures around town.
Right, and the latest Faith magazine.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting.
Had a little shot when we've got some video of this as well. But is it called Christ at Pillar?
Christ at the Pillar. Yeah, that was right after he was scourged. It was a very emotional piece to work on. And
tell us a little bit about that.
I didn't expect it, because when Holy Redeemer Church approached me to do something they've never had a Holy Redeemer. They've never had like maybe St. James might have something of St. James, or St. Adalbert's, but they're like, we'd like to have, a statue out here. So they came up with this, and so they wanted me to do some drawings and show the pain and suffering that he actually went through for us. So I did some sketches, and they chose this one. I did some watercolor sketches of him standing there with his hands tied. And then from there I proceeded to do a small bronze.
Okay.
And I don't remember doing the small bronze really. I remember like the end of it and bringing it to the committee for them to see. And then when I unveiled it, a few of the committee members teared up, and I wasn't expecting that. And as we proceeded, they had, then they had to raise the funds, and then they got me working on the big statue after they received the funds from their parish. And as I was working on it, I was just really, trying to put myself in his shoes, which, we can't do, but, it's so hard, because when I work on something like that, the passion goes into it, but then there's the technical parts and making sure, it looks correct and all that, and then there's the pillar, and I even had a hard time on the pillar. It just maybe the symbology of that pillar, and but we got through it, and my wife Susan was just great by my side to help me when I had those emotional times. But
when was the availing of that one?
That was, when was that? Gosh, we were supposed to unveil it on Good Friday, because it just seemed appropriate, because that's when it all happened, on Good Friday.
Yeah.
Gosh, was it June? I think it was June.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say sometime this summer.
Yeah, into May.
Okay.
Yeah, June.
Yeah.
Time just kind of goes together. There's so many different things going on right now. Yeah.
So now I remember you saying that you kind of started with, you had a kind of a creative, I don't know what to call it, a creative jag, where you started and you were making all these sculptures of St. Francis.
Yeah. Usually with a smile,
Yeah. And so that was kind of, that part of your display, right? I believe it in Assisi, you were having those sculptures.
Yeah, 16 bronze statues over there.
Exactly.
Telling a different stories. Because a lot of people know him with the preaching to the birds or the story with the Wolf of Gubbio. But there's so much more to a story than just those two stories.
And I bet you a lot of people don't even know those stories.
Right. So they're great. Yeah, those are part of that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So have you been, how many more, you said you have, now the 4 new sites, are they placing existing statues, or have you been creating some new statues?
Well, there were 16 that were done back then, and so I have, the additional, what is that, 9?
Oh, so you have
8 more.
Okay.
Yeah, I have not done yet. One is with Pope Innocent, because Francis, when he goes to meet Pope Innocent, and I've got that one pretty much done. I just have to, again, it's everything's on donation. So some I do when I have time, and then I do. Yeah. So.
Okay. And but you have put some new ones out there. I mean, there's no. And I don't know if these are new, or these are some of the I had lying.
Well, some of them I resculpted.
Okay.
Because one of them, for instance, I gave to Pope Benedict. So out of that collection, I had to make another one.
Got to make another one.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Because I noticed that on the trail there's a large statue.
There's.
We're going to talk about the other large statue in a moment, but
the one of Francis there I did for Art Prize in 2010.
Okay.
And I did Christ. You could sit next to Christ. He had his arm out, and had 3 steps going up, and you could sit next to him. And then behind him, Francis was on, he was on his back, so their backs were together. Francis says, "I got your back," And so he was in a pond, and then so I just kind of had that out at St. Mary's Sanctuary, out on 3 Mile.
Oh, okay.
And but people couldn't really see Francis, so I decided to sneak it in the garden there. That's not really part of the statues in the garden sites. It was just a little extra gift for me, just to put it out there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. It's a nice surprise for people to see it.
Right.
Because it is life size, or bigger than life size. So.
Yeah. All right, and then just what, this week, you added another large statue. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, this St. Francis leaping over the world for peace, and it was an international peace statue that I was in the making for a walk from Perugia to Assisi, Italy. It was supposed to be unveiled there in 2008, 2009, and they had a co-committee formed over there, and it's pretty exciting times because it was right after I met Pope Benedict, and then all these great things were going on over there, and they raised a lot of money, but then we had the collapse of the banks and everything, and the project just...
Yeah.
So I had this piece that was half done or more, and so I decided to finish it for Art Prize.
Okay.
The first year of Art Prize came up, and I'm like, well, I guess this is where it's supposed to start. And so I finished the statue of Francis leaping over the world with an olive branch.
Okay.
And so we put that in the center of the entranceway when you come, so when you drive up, you'll be able to see this. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, and last year when we were there, we stood in this circle of bricks and
now
exactly. Now there's a big globe there.
Yeah, it's I don't know how long it might stay there. I don't know. But it's there for this Saturday anyways, and then maybe we'll put it somewhere else in the garden because we want to put a gazebo there.
Right. Okay.
A nice gazebo. So.
Oh, okay. So then you gotta,
with ivy growing up, so it'll be a perfect entranceway.
Yeah. So speaking of this Saturday, I want to talk a little bit about how Instruments of Hope has been using the space. And, I've been seeing a couple things on your website and on your Facebook page. And so tell us a little bit about what Instruments of Hope has been doing. You had a hospice thing, I think, come up recently, and you got some other things coming up. So 4
different hospice groups got together, and they wanted to utilize our bank there. We have a bank that kind of leads down the pathway, and we usually put wood chips there every year and get some volunteers from different organizations where kids come out, help spread the love, and so they planted maybe 100 different plantings, memorials for their loved ones that they have lost, and some of them put rocks by them with their name on it. So that was pretty special. And so, like I said, we're starting to connect the dots with other places.
Right.
Yeah.
So what other things have been going on there? And tell us about some of the other ones that are coming up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about the statue of Christ that I did for Holy Redeemer, the next commission I got was for Cascade Christian Church.
Oh, okay.
And to do a cross, a 13-foot bronze cross.
Okay.
So that was my next commission right after Christ was getting ready to carry the cross.
Okay.
So it's like, it's just how, I don't know the right word for that, how that happens.
Yeah.
From the Madonna of the streets when Jesus was an infant.
So you're doing his whole lifetime by commission.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm very thankful to do these.
And you just unveiled that one.
That was just done last week.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago. And it's got ivy growing up it.
Yep.
And then it's got all the wood grain. It's 13 foot. I mean, it's real size. And it was just a very nice ceremony. And I got up in front of the church and talked about the journey and everything. So it was nice.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we got the Blessing of the Animals coming up at Marywood.
Okay.
And that's going to be on the feast day of St. Francis this year. Yeah, I mean, people bring, it's mostly dogs, but, we get all kinds of, those furry critters. What's that?
We'll take cats too.
Yeah, they do. It's amazing, We don't see too many, I think we had a chicken one year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And you also have another kind of a cooperative venture on the International Day of Peace. Is that it?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
And that's with the Institute for Global Education.
Okay.
They are teaming up with Instruments of Hope, and they're going to have something indoors at 2 o'clock inside the chapel at Marywood.
Okay.
And so the whole event starts at 1 o'clock, where we meet in the St. Francis Sculpture Garden And then I brought the big peace statue of Francis with the globe, and then we're going to have people take these ribbons and write a message of what their hope for peace is. If it's peace within themselves, or if it's for world peace, or if it's peace with their neighbor, and then, so they can take the Sharpie out and write it, and then stick it on the globe, and we'll have all these ribbons. And then Francis will be leaping over that. So, and then they'll be able to walk the garden and see the new installations. And yeah.
And I was, like I said, I was down there this past week, and the workers working really hard. I mean, they're like shoving boulders to try to get them
Yeah, we're
in
cracking
place.
the whip out there on these guys,
And they're saying that it was having a hard time because of the rain. Apparently, the clay gives them a real tough time when it rains so much.
Yeah, the clay is amazing out there. Actually, I sat out there all day once, and I did a small sculpture of Francis just from the earth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I brought a bucket of water out, and I've never done that.
Interesting.
And it just was like, wow, I mean, I didn't go to the art supply store to buy the clay, or order it on the internet. I just went right out there and grabbed a bucket and a few tools and
went to town.
Watched the mosquitoes a few times. But
yeah. So did you keep it?
Yeah, I have it in my shop.
Cool.
Yeah. So
excellent.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I mean, I always find something to do with it. So
interesting.
Yeah.
So what do you see being that you think that you're going to be able to finish up this year? I know we talked a little bit the last time about how you are basically donation driven.
Yes.
And I know that originally I think Mark mentioned that you were kind of having a budget of $1 million basically.
Yeah.
Now on your current brochure, I'm seeing it down to $600,000. Now is that just because you spent the $400,000, or
no, that's our old brochure. So that's what we had in there. But then when Instruments of Hope has grown. We've got a great board of directors now, and we're always looking for more help. If anybody wants to join us for fundraising or be on a committee for some of these events, we're always looking for more help.
Okay.
So
where should they go to learn more about that?
We have a great Facebook page, Instruments of Hope, Facebook, and also instrumentsofhope.net.
Okay.
And so when we got this good board of directors together, they realized that we need to add perpetual care on there for the garden, because Mother Nature, you can't always, we don't know what's going on, so we didn't even think about the fact that every year we're going to have all this upkeep, with the trails and what the water might do, and it's nature, so that's why now it's up to $1 million, because before it was 600, so we figured we need to get an endowment. We need to get some money we can put in the bank that we can draw interest, and then we can use that interest to keep upkeep of the garden.
Right. And I know when I was out there, they're actually putting a culvert under one of the trails so that the water could just find its way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't fight water.
Yeah. Indeed.
So we're very thankful to have that. And we have 3 more garden sites that finished the first phase, the east side.
Okay.
And the gardens have turned out to be memorials for people. The first 3 were, they lost a child.
Oh.
Well, the first 2 these donors lost their son at a young age.
Oh.
And just kind of, we didn't plan it that way, but and it's been a blessing. They're very thankful, and it's been a blessing. And and then the third one was for one of the sisters out at Marywood. She passed away, and she wrote the biography of the Dominican sisters, Sister Mona out there.
Okay.
Yeah. But the Jack and Rita Kirkwood are one of the donors out there, and they're now on our board of directors. And
so obviously very into it.
Yeah. And
very taken by the project, and
yep.
And that was interesting. I was talking to Skip. And who's not Catholic, and he's not really religious, but he's just drawn into the project and just what it stands for in terms of the peace and
Yeah, he's got a big, strong heart, and he's a believer.
Yeah, just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah.
So now these 3 other pieces for the first phase, are those funded yet, or are those the ones you're looking for?
The statues, the bronze sculptures have been commemorated, and now we're looking for donors for the garden sites.
For the garden sites.
And one is 10,000 and two are 15,000.
Okay.
For those garden sites. It's a lot, the landscaping and just the pathways, it takes a lot to do that, but when people see how beautiful it is,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly hope that, when people watch this, they'll be interested and kind of come by and see what you're up to, because it's a, like I said, it is a very peaceful and beautiful place.
And it's becoming, it's really, because we're starting to connect the dots, and we're really seeing a lot of people that are very thankful, and, there's just a whole healing aspect to what's going on out there. If it's a spiritual healing, or if it's a physical healing, or if it's just a healing you need for that time of your day when you just need to calm down. And so it just has that spirit out there.
Yeah. Are you getting any, words of feedback via your Facebook page or your website? People communicating with you saying, I visited there and it touched me that way? Yeah,
we've had some on Facebook, and like I said, it's a hidden secret now. And but the feedback we get is when we actually meet somebody out there, a stranger, someone we haven't seen. I mean, I've gotten 3 large donations just by somebody. I just happened to be out there at this time checking on something, and I introduced myself, and they happen to be neighbors. And they're like, "Oh, we love it out here," and so I just have to tell them that. It's like, I want them to enjoy it, but you don't want to go. We need money to keep doing this, but we do. So I tell them that the reason it takes 6 years because and they're like, well, I'd like to help out. Or someone might buy a brick, for the entranceway for $100, and that's a nice way to contribute your energy, your spirit to the garden.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to start camping out there, so you can just kind of let people come by.
I've always thought about building a hut there, like Francis would do, use those shrubs out there, and then get up in the morning and rake the pathways and. Oh, where's my coffee?
Well, it's certainly, an environment in which you could probably do that, because it is so pristine, I guess is the word I would use. It's like most of the sculptures, feel organic.
Yeah.
Even, obviously, you have bronze in the middle of the forest kind of thing.
But they're intimate, they're small, so, you can have your own time with them.
Yeah, I noticed you got some benches along the pathways now, so you can kind of sit down and meditate, or
Yeah, the benches are just a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And those take upkeep too, we realize. But.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to say, encourage people to check it out online, in person if you can. And
I do private tours.
Private tour. Well, there
anybody
you go.
wants to meet me out there.
You might meet Nick out there. He's camping out there now.
Might be. Yeah.
But we want to wish you continued growth, continued success again as you kind of work within God's provision through these donors and et cetera, and just hopefully you'll continue to bless your work. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.
We want to thank you for being with us, and hope you'll join us again for another conversation. In the meantime, we hope that God blesses you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
We are